Hey y'all, my last couple of videos were pretty basic. Well, now it's time to get a little bit more advanced. So today I'm going to show you how to work in layers, how to work with groups, and how to create a linear array. Now this comes in real handy when you've got a lot of vectors that you need to copy. So let's go ahead and go on over to the computer and check it out.
Here in VCarve, I've created a new file. I've got my job set up here. My fictional client has given me a piece of material that he wants me to cut a bunch of small switch plates out of. And measuring the material that he gave me, I've got 17-inch width in X that's usable, an 11-inch height in Y that's usable, and the material's 1/4 of an inch thick. I'm going to zero my Z at the top of the material. I'm not going to use an offset, and I've got my XY datum down here in the bottom left corner. I'm working in inches, and I've gone ahead and changed the appearance to a solid color, and I've selected white for that solid color. Okay, now the switch plate that he wants me to create for him is basically a 3/4 inch wide and tall square with a mounting hole in each corner, 1/8 inch diameter, and a 1/4 inch hole going through the center. And he's not real concerned about this piece of material because it's a piece of scrap to him. He doesn't really care how many I get out. He'd like to have 50, but he'll accept anything above that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw one switch plate down here, then copy them out to cover as many as I can get out of this entire sheet of material here. So first let's draw out my switch plate, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to base this on the mounting screws. So I'm going to draw my first mounting screw hole down in this corner here. So I'm going to center my circle 1/2 inch up, or 1/2 inch to the right in X, and a 1/2 inch up in Y, and it needs to be a 1/8 inch diameter circle, and we'll create it, and there we go. Okay, so if I zoom in here on this circle, I need to make 4 of them. So I'll go ahead and I will copy this one. I'll do that by drawing a box and selecting it. Then on my keyboard I'll hold down Control and tap the C key for copy. Then immediately right here hold down Control again and tap V for paste. And as you can see, I have a pink vector which indicates it's highlighted, and I have a black vector that is not highlighted or selected. Now I want to move this over 1/2 inch. He wants these holes to be 1/2 inch apart on center. So without clicking out here in the on the material, I'll go over here to Move Selected Objects, click that, and my anchor point is the center. I want to move this selected circle relative to the other one, and I want to move it over in X 1/2 inch. I don't want to move it in Y. And let's apply that, and there we go. It moved our copy over. Now I want 2 more circles 1/2 inch above that. So let me move my drawing down somewhat. We'll select these 2, and again Control C for copy, then immediately Control V for paste. Then we'll go back up here and move those objects, anchor them from the center. We're doing a relative move up 1/2 inch in Y. Apply, and there are our 4 mounting holes. Okay? to avoid any problems a little bit later on, I'm going to go ahead and group these, because right now what they are is they're 4 individual circles. Well, I want to keep their relationship with one another the way they sit right now. So I'll go ahead and select all 4 of them, then go over here in the Edit Objects toolbox to this icon right here where you've got a couple of shapes and a chain. And that's Group Selected Vectors. I'll click on that, and if you notice, it went from dotted lines into solid lines. So now if I click on one, all 4 are selected because the VCarve software is treating them as if they were just one entity. So those are grouped together now. Now I want to create a 1/4 inch diameter hole here. Now I could go ahead and bring down some guidelines and figure out my center and do a lot of measuring, but I really don't have a need to do that. What I can do is go ahead and draw another circle for a hole, but I don't want to put it 1/2 inch up in Y and over in X. I want to go a little bit further than that. I want to go 1.5 inches just so that it's out of the way of all these. So it'll be up over here somewhere, and I can move it into position in just a minute. So we've got 1.5 X, 1.5 Y, and we've got a 1/4 inch diameter circle. Let's create it. Alright. Now, since I've grouped all of these circles here, and VCarve is treating it as though it's one entity, what I can do is I can align this circle in the center of this group of circles by selecting that circle first. That's the vector that I want to move. Hold down Shift, select that group last. Then come over here into the Transform Objects toolbox and hit Align Selected Objects. Now here I want to align to the selection. So what it's going to do here, when I click this icon right here, it's going to align this object to the last item in the selection, which were these. So I click this icon and boom, moves it right down into the middle, close, and I'm ready to go. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to put this on its own layer, because when I copy these out into my linear array, there are going to be a whole bunch of these to try to select when I go to create toolpaths. So by putting it on its own layer, it make it real easy to select and generate toolpaths. And the way I do that is just select the circle, right click, and then right here it says move to layer. I want to choose that and then choose new layer. Now it's going to open up the add new layer prompt, and I will name this layer center hole. Make sure the new layer is visible. It does not have to be active. I'm going to go ahead and change the color just so we can, to remind myself that it is on its own layer, and click OK. Now when I deselect, you can, if we zoom in, you can see that this is a blue line and these are still black. That reminds me that that center hole is on its own layer. Okay, now I need to draw a 3/4 inch rectangle around these vectors and center it on the center of this hole here. So I'll go up here to my draw rectangle, and I want to put my anchor point the bottom left corner, and I'll go ahead and I'll do put it at 1/2 inch in on X and 1/2 inch up on Y. That's going to move it up to about where this hole is here, but I can adjust it from there. I want to use square corners. It's already there. Great. I want it 3/4 wide in X, 3/4 high in Y, and we will create it. Okay. And yeah, as you can see, it went ahead and it offset it a little bit. No big deal. I'll select it, hold down Shift, select the center hole last, and align it to the selection, not the material. Close that. And now I want to do the same thing here. I want to put this outside profile vector on its own layer. So I select it, right click, move to layer, create a new layer, and I'll call this outside profile. And just so I remember, I'll go ahead and make this one green. Layer is visible but not active. Click OK, and there we go. So we've got our switch plate created. Now, zoom out. What I want to do is I want to cut out a whole bunch of these, as many as I can get out of this sheet of material comfortably. Now, my best bit for cutting this plastic is a quarter inch end mill. I'm going to have to use an 1/8 inch end mill to cut these holes, and that's fine. But I can use a 1/4 inch end mill here and a 1/4 inch end mill there. The reason I'm talking about end mills already is because I need to figure out when I array these and basically copy them out this way and copy them up this way, I'm going to need to figure out how much of a gap to put in between them. Now, if I go with just simply a 1/4 inch for clearance for my end mill, if there's a problem of any kind, I mean, whether it be chips falling in there or just anything, I want a little bit of a cushion. So what I want to do is I want to take that 1/4 inch clearance that I need for the bit to get through, and I'm going to add a 1/16 inch to it. So I got to remember that I want a 5/16 gap between this part and the next ones I create. So how am I going to create all those? Well, we'll go ahead and we'll select the entire thing by drawing a box on it from left to right, or excuse me, from right to left. Go up here into the Offset and Layout toolbox and hit Create a Linear Array of Copies. Now when I click on that, it opens up this form here, and the first thing you see up here is the selected object's size. That is the size in X and in Y of my switch plate here. Now, I've done a little bit of math already, and I've played around with this before, and I know that with all these settings I can get 15 columns wide and 10 rows high for 150 parts out of this piece of material. And I did this with just by basic trial and error. I came in and I played with it, and I started with 10 and 10. And then when I saw how many wide I got in my column section, I just added some more and then added some more, and I came up with this. If you want to do the math, you're more than welcome. Be my guest. I just found trial and error is much, much easier. So I'm going 10 columns, 10 rows wide in Y, so it's going to make 10 rows of this part here, and 15 columns in X by 15 here for 150 parts total. I'm going to space them apart with a gap 5/16 inch in X and 5/16 inch in Y, meaning it's going to place a 5/16 inch gap here before it copies the next switch plate, and then 5/16, then the next switch plate. Okay? I don't want to do any kind of displacement. I'm going to leave my symmetry just as it is. I'm not going to group the copies, and I'll go ahead and click Copy. And there you have it. it went ahead and populated in that entire block. So I've got 15 wide, 10 high for 150 parts with a 5/16 gap in between each one. So basically I'm ready to generate toolpaths now. And that's why we went ahead and we created these layers. Because if I had to go in and select each individual mounting hole, it would drive me up a tree. Now, to select all those little bitty mounting holes to generate toolpaths, what I can do is I can come over here to my layer manager. I can turn off the outside profile. I can turn off the center holes, close the manager, and the only thing I have left are my mounting holes. Now once again, I'll hold down the control button, press A, which is the keyboard shortcut for select all visible. Go back over here and group those selected objects so that now if I touch one, all of them are selected. Okay? Then I'll do this layer by layer. I'll turn on the center hole layer, turn off the mounting hole layer, Control A, group. Then I'll go back to turn on the outside profile, turn off the center hole, close, Control A, group, and now I can go back to the layer control manager, turn all of them on, and they're all on individual groups. Excuse me. Now when I go to generate my toolpaths, I can come over here and click on one of those mounting holes, and all of them are selected. I will pocket these, and for my cutting depth, what I want to do is I want to cut them the depth, the thickness of my material plus about 3/1000ths of an inch. I want to make sure that the tip of that bit goes down all the way through the material and into the spoil board just a little bit. So up here in my cutting depth, I'll use the calculator and I'll enter on my keyboard Z plus 0.003 to go 3/1000ths deeper than my Z thickness, and press equals. And it did the math for me. It takes the thickness of the material that I entered in my job setup over here and added the 3/1000ths of an inch that I told it to. Now for my tool, I obviously can't cut a 1/8 inch hole with a 1/4 inch end mill, so I'll go over here and choose my 1/8 inch end mill. I'll just go ahead and accept all the settings in here, and I want to cut it offset, climb, and I will name it mounting holes. Whoops. And we'll calculate that toolpath. And that should be about it. And there we go. Now for some reason, okay, I need to change my material to a solid color, white. And we can preview that toolpath. And there are the mounting holes. Close. Go back over to my drawing and select my center holes. Pocket. I'm going to use the same material depth here, but on this one I need to use my 1/4 inch end mill. Select my 1/4 inch. There we go. And I'm going to use an offset again. And I will change the name to center holes. Calculate those toolpaths. And now I can preview those. So far so good. Okay, close that. Go back out here and select my outside profile. For that I'll do a profile toolpath. I will again change it to Z plus 0.003 equals. I will continue to use my 1/4 inch end mill. I want to machine the vectors to the outside. I'm climb cutting. And if you were going to use tabs, this is where you would add them. Same with lead, ramps, or the order that they're going to be machined in. I am going to make sure I got sharp external corners selected. And everything else looks good, so I will call it profile cutout. And we'll calculate that toolpath. The software gives me a warning that I'm going to cut all the way through. Yes, we know that. I want you to. And preview that selected toolpath. And double click to get rid of the waste. There we are. There's all my parts. All set and ready to go. 3 toolpaths. And I think my customer will be happy with that. From here, I could go ahead and save my G code and get outside and get to cutting. So that's all there is to it. I know that was a lot of information in a relatively short amount of time, but basically the purpose was to show you the advantage of grouping, using the different layers for different vectors and toolpaths, and showing you how to set up a linear array rather than trying to copy this all over the place. Draw one, create a linear array, and copy as many as you want to do. So, I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, consider giving me a thumbs up down there. Whether you do that or not, thank you very much for watching. You have a good day.